Hey, Shalom Akim. Call hello Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Kwakwadash. All right, double honors, of course, go out to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the Akim out there on the highways and byways across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth, trying to wake up the remaining hopeful elect. This is Nama, the DC camp, and this is a show I watch on YouTube. It's Dr. Rashard Ritchie. It's okay, and indisputable. And this particular one, what had happened, the cops impounded the cars in this particular case of a family that was living in it. All right. And uh, wow. But, before you let those strings tug at your heart, you got to consider there's things going on here. You got to ask yourself, where is the husband and the father? Um, they say that all these fees, and this happens in all these, you got to understand, these Edomites, these so-called white people, are just, when it talks to you, when it tells you in the scriptures that they're a covetous lot, that's exactly what they are. Some greedy motherfuckers, man. All right. But like I said, before you let those strings tug at your heart, you got to consider a lot of this legislation and these policies are aimed at our people. All right. And the way things are now with this intentional crashing of the economy, the fabricated famine that's coming, that's basically here with the way prices are rising at, your local supermarket. And don't expect gas to stay where it is. All right. It's going to jump. In short, those curses that were put on us as a people, Israel, all right, now the other people, our enemies, are going to catch hell. They're going to catch it, all right? And you're going to see some shit here in the not too distant future. But let's go ahead and roll this. And like I say, just, uh, let's roll it.
We have an exclusive. The heartlessness of these cops who decided to evict mothers and their children from cars, impound the cars, and made them sleep outside. Let me take you to the first video. Here it is.
The three of you. Who is in charge? Okay, so you're planning on putting this woman on foot, like with nowhere to live, with her son and her dog. That's what you guys are planning on doing. Does that look like it's something that should be done? You guys feel like there's any humanity in this? You guys want to take this woman, like, it's like coming into winter, it's cold, and you want her to be on foot, like it doesn't matter? That is unacceptable, and absolutely unacceptable. I cannot believe you guys don't have the heart. Like you must have some kind of heart.
Does she stay with you and your mother?
You must have some kind of heart.
She can stay with you?
Well, I was supposed to.
We're actually helping each other in the community.
You're able to help her?
We're trying the best we can to help. You guys are destroying.
So she can stay with you tonight?
You guys are destroying. You're destroying people.
I was asking if he was.
You're destroying people.
See how the police officer is trying to flip it on him, the guy that's asking the questions here, asking if they can stay with you.
Let's put up the picture of the family. Okay?
Where's the father and husband?
Impounded the cars of two unhoused mothers and their two children on November 12th. It forced them to spend the night outside. And they knew that's exactly what would happen if they impounded these vehicles. The mother, Lisa, and June did find temporary accommodation following the YouTube post about their eviction. A neighbor caught the incident where June is packing what belongings she can carry. Citizen journalist Carol Meeks then interview the families about the incident. Here's some of that.
That's it. We're telling you right now. We don't care how far out of date. We don't care how much, what steps you've taken. They just.
So did you tell them that by them towing your vehicles, that your children were going to be out on the street and in the elements?
Yes.
Yes.
We did.
They cut us off and turned their heads.
Yep. They cut us off and just kept on doing their job. And of course, it took forever for the sergeant to get there. And then, basically he stood his ground. He says, well, you knew this was driving is a privilege, not a right. And I'm sorry, but I disagree with that because I have a disabled child. That is my vehicle to transport my
I
child.
hear coughing right now.
Yeah.
Which was probably made worse by having to sleep in a tent last night.
Definitely.
See how when it's these people? Look at the title. Exclusive. Cops evict unhoused folks from their car. And listen to how the interviewer is talking and phrasing, using certain words. But see, this is the thing. That's why I was telling you, but before you let those strings tug at your heart, there's all kinds of things going on here. All right. Like I say, when it was those people, all right. What do you have to say now? Continuing on.
Definitely. It was freezing. I mean, the ground was, and all of our belongings got wet. So we're in the tent and they're wet and it's already cold and we're freezing.
So you slept here in a tent last night, you and your children?
My son and I slept in the tent and they slept outside.
I'm going to say this. If they don't get you a room for tonight, I'm going to try and find and pay for a room for you tonight.
Thank you.
Because this is just ridiculous. And all the city council people who just ran and got elected, maybe should be a priority. Finding housing for single moms and their children who city officials are forcing onto the streets in cold weather at night.
Wait a minute. But hold on.
We were able to talk to.
Now you're okay. I'm gonna reserve what I want to say now until I get to the comments. It's gonna address that. Let's continue.
Directly with Carol Meeks, who documented this and provided humanity where humanity was not. And Carol says, and I quote, San Diego city officials had some pretty screwed up priorities when they quit making money by impounding poor folks' vehicles to generate fines and eventually sell them. So that's the scheme. They sell the cars when a person can't pay it. When people could not afford to reclaim them, over the safety of the children, they put into the streets to sleep. The mothers told Meeks they could not afford the back penalties and fees for registration on their vehicles amounting to more than $1,000 each. They expected to lose their vehicles to the city.
How long has Jake been dealing with shit like this? This isn't new. But again, it's those people.
Once again, is part of the scheme. San Diego's Regional Task Force on Homelessness estimates about 8,500 people are unhoused in that county.
Unhoused?
More than 12,000 households had at least one member experiencing homelessness last year.
Sounds so proper.
Before I go on deeper, let me remind everyone, especially to the mothers, don't let them make you believe what you are experiencing is a personal failure. It's a policy failure.
Except when it comes to
inappropriate response.
Except when it comes to people like, then it's personal. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Get a job. Yeah.
To the least of these. And I'm sure you have paid your fair share of taxes, both of you. And I am sorry that you're in the situation you're in. Tough times happen. But those who are put in authority to provide solutions should not make it worse. And that's what they did. The city commented on the police and their decision to take the vehicles. Here's the comment. The registered owners of the vehicle or vehicles have previously received warnings and citations, as well as information for the city's safe parking program. The officers also contacted SDPD's homeless outreach team, who responded to offer additional services to the owners. SDPD is tasked with enforcing vehicle code violations, regardless of housing status, or expired registrations, outstanding parking tickets, oversized vehicles, recreational vehicles, attached, unattached trailers, registration-related violations, or parking during unauthorized hours, among others. You gotta get out of thinking somehow it's fair to execute policies like this against individuals.
Unless, of course, it's Jake. Then they tell you, well, you should have paid attention to all those notices you got in the mail. You should have did this, you should have did that. You know, you should have had nothing short of superhuman powers, you know. But now that the shoe is on the other foot, oh, you're going to see some of these comments. Oh, okay. Continuing on.
Can't afford it. That's not fair. That's not good. It's not good policy. It's bad. If your policy lacks humanity, think about the irony of that. Who wrote the policy? Humans did. We did. And the policy is contrary to the very nature of our being. Does that make sense to you? There's a GoFundMe for the two mothers.
Unrighteous decrees and all that. Yeah, okay.
Help these babies as much as we can. The GoFundMe page, Two Moms and Children Homeless and Abandoned for the women. It was set up this week and has raised more than $12,000. You can provide assistance as well. We're back to a real challenge, right? I just read the stats to you. The homelessness issue, or unhoused dynamic in that county, is extreme. What has the government done to remedy it? Well, not much. And when they are faced with an opportunity to fix or perhaps provide grace, they do not. Places like the City of Atlanta, they passed laws that prohibited cops from arresting for what's called a crime of survival. Meaning if a person is homeless and they're asleep, if they're unhoused, unsheltered, and they're asleep on private property, that's technical or technically criminal trespass. Well, City of Atlanta police, they're told you can't arrest them. That's a crime of survival. Here are the other things you can do instead of arresting them. We fought for that legislation for years in the City of Atlanta, and other cities have done so. This one, obviously not. But at least one provides a remedy while the other makes the problem worse. Jordan, thoughts here?
Like you say, there's no humanity in these statutes. They have this rigid application that...
Hey, you know what? Better get used to it, because what's the motto of the New World Order? No mercy. All right? See these Amalekites, these, you know, at the behest of more Amalekites that are the elite banking families, all right? They can smell it. They're on the cusp, all right, of establishing their New World Order. But you know what it says in Job 20th chapter, all right? It's like when you picture this, or getting ready, he's sitting at this expensive table, you know, got the napkin around his neck, and he got all the silver and, you know, utensils and everything set out, got the plates and got all the fine food and everything. It's smelling all nice. Well, it tells you that, you know, what? Kicking in the door, you know, that's what's going to happen. So we know that they're not going to be able to enjoy what they think, all right, that they're establishing. And that's that New World Order. All right, let's continue, see what else he got here.
Only is going to negatively affect people who are in unstable housing situations. And when the penalty is a fine, basically just means you can do whatever you want if you're wealthy. So you can see how this plays out in all of these different areas, all these civil statutes. So I feel really bad for these parents. Like, and the cop also, what's his deal? Saying, oh, are you going to take him in? Like, that's the solution. The solution should not be some...
Yeah, all leading up to what? 2nd Ezra's 5th 18th chapter. Let's go there, starting at verse 14. Let me see. All right. Where do I want to go? Let's see. Let's go here. This is going to be Second Ezra. Whoops. Second Ezra 15 and 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power." All right. All right. And let's go over to the next chapter, because we have enjoyed the period where things were cheap, and now you're seeing this inflation on its way to hyperinflation. This is 2 Ezra 16:17. "Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils, these bad times, shall come? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish, are sent as scourges for amendment." And that's why I read 15 first, because the time where your so-called leaders, your people in positions of power, you know, they don't, even now, they don't respect, haven't in a while, but I mean, it hasn't gotten to the point where it's getting to, where motherfuckers just going, you just saw the thing with Nancy Pelosi's husband. You know, there was a home invasion. The guy went in there and beat the old guy up, you know. The insurrection with the Capitol here. And who knows what's going to happen, because now they looking like they're going to bring Trump up on some charges. You know, it's like they're doing everything that they can to try to keep this guy from running again. Why? Because there's an agenda here. All right. And they've got the people in place to push it through. All right. Anyway, it says, verse 20, but for all these things they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. This is just the beginning. This is just the very beginning. 21, "Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion." The last 2.5 years, almost 3 now, has been one hell of a test run for these devils. All right. They want to see certain things. All right. And man, the amount of people that went for this bullshit, let them know just how pliable and just how ripe these motherfuckers are for the taking. All right. Let's go back and see and finish this out.
Bystander filming it because they feel bad for these people to take them in. That's not a solution to the problem. This problem is systemic. The solution,
there you go,
is a system where everyone can thrive. Everyone makes a living wage or has enough to provide, you know, for themselves and their family and afford the cost of rent, which is growing rapidly. You know, across the country, we've seen rents skyrocket in some year over year at like double-digit percents and sometimes even higher. In major cities, it's been like sometimes 20 and 30%. We've seen housing prices are extremely high. Even just having a stable place to live is becoming increasingly out of reach, especially for people in the working class. So I feel bad for this family or this group of people. I wish them the best. And also, again, it illustrates how cops in practice aren't really there to protect and serve. They're just there to serve the interests of capital.
Yeah.
Exactly. And there was a case here in the district in Washington, D.C. here back in the 70s, I want to say like 75, that highlighted that exact point. They were never here as far as this is all about protecting business, keeping the money flowing. All right. And this case involved a, how do we classify this? Well, here's how the story went. These, I believe it was two women that called in a break-in to their residence. I believe they and some others that were renting, and they telling the police that the person was still in the place. And what eventually, to keep the story short, what eventually happened, the police never came. The women were terrified. I can't remember if it was a situation where they came and they were not in a position to answer for fear of their lives, and they never came back, something to that effect. But in any case, they sued the department because the people that broke in just had their way with them over time, you know. And that's when it came out in the court decision that they said, well, you know, that's not the role of the police department. And man, it's like, you think that, you know, no, this is all about, hey, capitalism is a motherfucker for those of you know that worship it and everything. But like I've always said, it doesn't matter which form of government you're under if the motherfuckers that are over you are wicked. All right, it doesn't matter. And more people are seeing now that all that shit they grew up hearing and were taught about democracy this and capitalism this, you know, constantly berating other forms of government around the world, that was all bullshit. All right. Oh yeah, that was all bullshit. All right. And the elites are going to let you know. The banking elites are going to let you know now. You know, this Klaus Schwab and, you know, these devils. All right. They're, hey, this one world government, this one world religion, all this shit. People they're going to find out, if they haven't already, they were lied to. And this story as an example, it's going to get far worse than this. You're going to see a whole lot of suicides. All right. Whether it be through overdose or whatever have you. Yeah. So all these signs are here. What we've been out here on the highways and byways telling people. All right. They laugh at us. They mock us. Well, that's all right. That's all right. No problem. No problem whatsoever. Like I said, times are changing, and they're changing really fast. All right. So for all of you that laughed and mocked, no problem. You're just going to get caught out there, you know, and there's all kinds of examples, you know, throughout the scriptures. So with that, once again, this has been Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, and it had to do with cops impounding cars of, you know, homeless moms with their kids and things like that. You know, this is something that's a whole lot of jurisdictions around the country here, they do. I know here in the district, that has always, as long as I've been here, has been a huge source of income for the city. If you don't have that, you in particular, that's why I don't like driving in the district, you know. If you don't have that neighborhood sticker on your car, that your car is supposed to be there, that shit's gonna disappear. And they take that shit out the Blue Plains here. You can't pay to get it out, they're gonna sell it at auction. Hey, so with that, I hope whoever views this is edified as to what's going on. That's what we try to do here at Great Millstone, filter everything through the scriptures. All right, so you know what time you're in. And speaking of time, I can't say it enough, time is getting short. This bitch getting ready to collapse. All right, you're gonna see a whole slew of situations like this. So hey, with that, shalom.